Here are 7 items California employers need to know about the new 2022 California Supplemental Paid Sick Leave. As we set forth in a number of articles on our blog, the links are below if you want to read those articles, California's governor signed the new supplemental paid sick leave for 2022 that applies to California employers. The governor signed that law on February 9th, 2022, and it became effective on February 19th, 2022. Now, one of the big questions is, which employers does this new law apply to? It applies to employers with 26 or more employees, and that means 26 or more employees across the U.S., not just located in California. So if you only have one employee in California, but you have more than 26 employees, 26 or more employees across the U.S., you have to provide that one employee working here in California with the supplemental paid sick leave. Now, the other thing to remember about the law is that it applies retroactively. So if an employee now, after February 19th, 2022, asks for leave, paid leave, that was covered under the law going back to January 1st, 2022, employers have to go back and retroactively pay that leave if it's qualifying leave under this new law. So it's important to keep in mind, and it will stay in effect until September 30th, 2022. Now, another item employers need to understand, we're getting a lot of questions on this, there is no offsetting tax credit that was available to employers in 2021. So this is a cost that employers, unfortunately, are going to have to bear on their own here in 2022. Now, the first item employers need to know about this new law is that the supplemental paid sick leave needs to be listed on the employee's pay stub. However, this new law in 2022 is a little different than the supplemental paid sick leave that applied to California employers in 2021. The new law for 2022 just requires the employers to list on the pay stub how much time the employee has actually used for the paid sick leave. The pay stub does not have to list how much time the employee has available. So starting out, if the employee hasn't used any paid sick leave under the new law, the employer has to list 0 on the employee's pay stub. And this obligation starts the first full pay period after February 19th, 2022. The second item the employers need to know about is that there is a required notice that employers have to post in the workplace, or if the employees don't regularly come into a workplace, they have to distribute this notice to employees electronically or through other means that they generally use to provide notice to employees. Now, this is the only basic requirement for employers to give any notice to the employees is to post this notice. Those posters are available on the Labor Commissioner's website in English and in Spanish, and we have links to those posters below. Now, a third item employers need to understand in order to comply with the new law is that they're going to have to track the reasons that the employees are taking for the supplemental paid sick leave here in 2022. The reason is the law provides 2 different banks of leave for the employees. Now, each bank provides up to 40 hours of leave to the employee depending on the reason for the leave. Now, we have articles linked below describing the various reasons that fall under the 2 different banks of leave, but it's important that employers are documenting the reasons for the employee's leave, make sure that 1, it's qualifying leave under the law, and 2, they're documenting which bank and how much time the employee has used under each bank for the leave in order to comply with the law. Now, the fourth item that employers need to understand for compliance with this new California supplemental paid sick leave is when they can ask for documentation from employees. Now, it's only under a few very limited circumstances that employers can ask for documentation, and so they have to be careful about requiring documentation before refusing to pay for the supplemental paid sick leave. But one scenario where employers may refuse to pay for supplemental paid sick leave if the employee refuses to provide documentation is in terms of a positive test for COVID for the employee or for a family member. So if the employee is asking for supplemental paid sick leave because they or a family member have tested positive for COVID-19, the employer can ask to see that positive test before paying out supplemental paid sick leave under this new law. Now, employers may also require documentation from employees if the employees are requesting more than 3 days or 24 hours of supplemental paid sick leave related to the employee or a family member experiencing symptoms from a vaccine or a vaccine booster. The employer can require verification from a healthcare provider that the employee or the family member is continuing to experience such symptoms. Other than a few limited scenarios where employers may require documentation from the employee, generally the employee is entitled to take the paid sick leave, the supplemental paid sick leave, upon request, and the employer cannot require documentation in order for the employer to take that leave. The fifth item employers need to understand for the supplemental paid sick leave is how to calculate the amount of leave the employee is entitled to take. Now, this calculation gets complicated based on if the employee is less than full-time worker, and also if the employee works a variable schedule. So the Labor Commissioner's website, the FAQs, walk through those scenarios, explain the math. We'll have links to those below. Employers need to look at that and do that calculation carefully. Sixth, employers need to understand how to calculate the rate of pay that the employees are entitled to. Now, this calculation likewise gets complicated if the employee is working on a commissioned basis or a piece rate basis. So employers need to go back and look at that math, how to do that math, and we'll have links to the FAQs that explain how employers should go back and do that calculation. And it's important that employers look at these calculations new. Don't rely on the calculations you've done in the past under 2021 for that supplemental paid sick leave. That's been modified a bit, and employers need to update and ensure that they're complying with the 2022 supplemental paid sick leave rate of pay calculations required. Now, seventh and finally, employers need to comply with other paid sick leave laws. There's California paid sick leave, and there's also numerous local state and county paid sick leave laws as well. So, for example, Los Angeles City, Los Angeles County, Oakland, and Long Beach also have requirements for paid sick leave, and employers need to pay attention to those requirements as well. Those are in addition to the California supplemental paid sick leave. And then finally, employers need to remember Cal OSHA ETS, the Emergency Temporary Standard, sets out exclusion pay for employees under different scenarios as well, and employers need to make sure that they're complying with those requirements as well. So that covers a few reminders for California employers on the 2022 supplemental paid sick leave. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, please let us know.